But, Mark, let's move on into our next topic. Kind of moving away from the playoffs. We were originally going to stay in and talk about Nick Foles and the Eagles and the Philly special and something in there. Can they beat the Bears? No. Bear down is what Mark would have said because Super Bowl Super Bears. But we're doing a little bit of an audible here, changing things up. Before we got into the studio today, Antonio Brown has asked for a trade, requested a trade from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Apparently, and this is from the CBS Sports article I'm looking at, the tension between Brown and Roethlisberger boiled over last week when the two players got into a heated dispute before a practice. The dispute was so serious that it caused Brown to skip practice for the rest of the week and to sit out the team's season finale against the Bengals on Sunday. Although Roethlisberger downplayed the incident on Tuesday, he did admit that Brown won't return his calls or his texts. And that's the famous quote of Ben Roethlisberger saying, well, if there's anything going on, I didn't hear it. I didn't see it. So basically, Antonio Brown wants out of Pittsburgh. It's a kind of another drama-filled situation for the Steelers after the whole Le'Veon Bell situation. And now this. There was also the AB thing of last year, which after the final game, he was live streaming a rant from the locker room. So we're going to just kind of talk about possible landing spots, best landing spots for Antonio Brown. I'm going to let you start it off, Mark.
Okay.
Who is the first team that you think would be the best landing spot for Antonio Brown?
Well, the first thing I want to put out there is that this is an incredibly difficult one to make because he's been paid and he gets paid a lot of money.
And they're going to be asking for a lot.
Yeah, they'll be asking for a lot if they're even considering doing it. And the flip side, I also want to say, just to this is going to make some Steeler fans angry, with Le'Veon's situation, how that didn't work out, with not making the playoffs, with a soon-to-be 37-year-old quarterback.
Who could be retiring soon.
Yeah. Who has multiple times talked about retiring. You know what? Get off that ship. If it's a ship that looks like it's sinking, you see the water rising.
You're saying AB should get off that. Okay.
Get off the ship. I'm totally okay with AB wanting out. I think that makes sense. I get it completely in this case. But it's going to be hard to do. And they couldn't get anybody to really bite on Le'Veon Bell, that trade, so maybe they're asking too much. They're evaluating too high for what they want. The place that I can see this maybe making some sense, but I don't know that this team is ready to do it, is the Oakland, soon-to-be Las Vegas Raiders. Because they've got
Mike Mayock and John Gruden going on.
They've got some cap room. They've got some picks. They can make things happen to get a incredible wide receiver for which they need one. They just traded away Amari Cooper for Derek Carr, assuming that they want Derek Carr to continue being their quarterback.
No, that is one that I didn't even think about. But here's the thing with that, and the first thing that comes to my mind is, would the Bear and Cowboy picks be enough, or would if you're giving two of the three, would the Steelers go, no, we want your pick. We want that top 10 pick, and then we'll take like the Bear or Cowboy one, whichever one is lower.
They might, but you know what? That Pittsburgh pick, it's not a super, it's kind of a middle-of-the-pack type of pick, so it's not like they're at the very end of the draft.
Yeah.
So anything is going to be worthwhile for them. And I don't think that they necessarily need to do that because it's not like they're a complete disaster team. They've got a lot of great pieces. They just need to kind of reestablish some things. So I don't think they can be that picky. First-round picks are first-round picks. You know, you can't be that picky about it. You would rather have the higher one, being the Raiders one, but you can't go that crazy. Don't be too greedy.
And I mean, what you could always do, too, is if the Raiders wanted to, let's say John Gruden's like, hey, we're getting A, B, they could just do a, hey, let's do a pick swap.
Yeah.
Where basically you can have our pick at the top of the draft, we'll take your pick, and then John Gruden, because John Gruden, I don't think cares about having, like, unless there's a guy at the top of the draft he really likes, I don't think he's going to care. Any Gruden grinders. No quarterback to replace Derek Carr. That one's an interesting one because I know John Gruden wants the whole big thing about getting veterans in here.
Yeah.
And Antonio Brown would be like, that would also, I think, kind of smooth things over with Gruden and Carr, where it's like Carr's upset that you traded Amari Cooper because I'm trying to sit here and win games. John Gruden can say, here, I'm giving you a weapon better than Amari Cooper.
Yeah.
I'm giving you one of the best, if not the best, wide receiver in the game. I'm going to go a little bit different from you. The 49ers. Make it happen. And the reason why I say that is you got this kid Jimmy Garoppolo coming in off an injury that is supposed to be better than Nick Mullen. God, that pissed me off. It still pisses me off when First Take had is Nick Mullins better than Jimmy Garoppolo? It's like, no, he's not. Jimmy Garoppolo is one of the greatest quarterbacks and would have made the playoffs if he was healthy.
Calm down there.
I feel like this 49er team, that second round or that second overall pick might be, because look at what you're going to do. Are you just going to get a defensive guy and get a Gary or a Williams, bring them in, okay, bolster that defense? Or you know what? Let's trade it. Let's give it to the Steelers. They could even do a pick swap too if they wanted to and give extra picks. Let's get Antonio Brown on this team. Give Jimmy Garoppolo a weapon to throw to. They're supposed to get not just Jimmy back, but Jerick McKinnon back next year because he got injured before the season even started.
Yeah.
You look at George Kittle, who is one of the surprise tight end stories, I would say, from this year. Looks like a valuable weapon with that team to where they are a team that I think if they got Antonio Brown, solidify them as a playoff team. I'm not saying Super Bowl or anything, but solidify them as a team that can challenge the Seahawks for their wild card throne and even maybe challenge the Rams for the top of the NFC West, although I would probably put the 49ers as a lock for a wild card if they got Antonio Brown on that team.
There are two other teams that really stand out in my head as teams that realistically can do this. I won't give my number one besides the Raiders. The Raiders are, to me, they're the ones that make the most sense.
One?
They're my number one. I'll give my number three and then my number two. Number three is the Buffalo Bills. Young quarterback who looked better towards the end of the year. He started making things work. This is a team that's always had a good defense, but what they really need is a weapon to help out that young quarterback. They've had plenty of failed experiments at wide receiver over these years. The Buffalo Bills could do it. They got plenty of cap space to make it happen. I think it would work. Now, I don't necessarily know what they would have to give up as far as picks to make this happen. And once again, I'm going to say it this time, actually for all three of mine are all AFC teams, but I don't know that the Steelers are going to want Antonio Brown still in the AFC either. They might prefer him to be in the NFC, further away from home. But I think the Buffalo Bills would love to have a sure thing type of quality wide receiver.
So I've got two teams I'm thinking about. Well, three that popped into my head. And all of these next three are probably wish list scenarios for me.
Yeah.
The one that popped into my head, I just want to feel how you would feel about this.
Okay.
If the Falcons called up and said, let's do a Julio Jones for AB swap.
No.
Because Julio Jones, there has been a little bit, not like Antonio Brown-like tension, but there's been tension between Julio and the Falcons. That one just popped into my head of what if the Falcons did that? Hey, we'll give you Julio. You still get a prime wide receiver. We get a prime wide receiver in AB. All the drama goes away. And we could just work with those teams. The other two is if the Panthers could try to add him onto their team and give Cam Newton a weapon. And the other one, which to me would be a higher likely than the Panthers because of their pick, but how would that affect them getting a quarterback? Jacksonville. If Jacksonville can get Joe Flacco without having to move that first round pick this year, I think they could get both Joe Flacco and Antonio Brown on their team.
The Jaguars can't make it happen just for their cap is going to be a big issue. They've got one of the worst cap situations coming into next year. It's not that it's impossible.
What if
you can always make it
move
work.
Players?
Yeah, you can always make it work. And that's the thing that we like to say when we have these discussions is the GM, you figure out how you make it work. We're saying you need it.
Yeah.
And they need wide receivers desperately.
Because, there's on the CBS article, they mentioned the Packers I don't see how the Packers do it with Aaron Rodgers' contract. With
They
how
would
much
have
money.
They would have trouble with their cap issues, but it's more doable for the Packers, but still hard.
And the other one would be the Dolphins make some good sense because, I mean, I don't know if they would want to because they're looking for a new head coach. But, like, you look at it, they traded Jarvis Landry. What better way to get a true number one back on that team for hopefully a healthy Ryan Tannehill? Who's your number one, though? Because I'm itching to hear.
Well, this is my number two, technically.
You're number two.
Raiders are my number one. I gave it in a weird order. But this team I was excited about, but I wanted to put this other caveat in there because it depends on how they do in the playoffs, I think, to an extent. And that's the Indianapolis Colts.
Ooh.
They would flourish.
Are you trying to match
AB.
T.Y. with A.B.?
Oh, yeah. It'd be beautiful. If you can, and I know that in that case, Steelers would be like, yeah, okay, give us T.Y. But like, if they can trade some picks to make this happen, they've got all the cap space in the world. They just got their quarterback back. Their offensive line appears to actually be working. And yes, I know they've got some defensive things they need to work out, but screw defense. Get Antonio Brown and you're settled. You know, like, you will be an amazing team offensively if you can get that. Frank Reich would be thrilled to have a guy like AB.
No, and I'm just looking at, right now I'm looking at the draft order to see if there's any other teams. The one that pops into my head that this is an outside looking in, but if they got him, what would it look like? The Jets? Like, if the Jets could make that
They
work
desperately need a wide receiver.
and get, like, and that's a team in the AFC that I think the Steelers wouldn't mind giving them to because they might be like, hey, that fucks over the Patriots way before it fucks over us.
Can you beat the Patriots up a little bit?
Yeah, it beats them before it beats us because you play the Patriots twice a year. The only thing that's difficult right now with this trade, like in the article I looked at, they mentioned the Cardinals.
Yeah.
I'm like, but they're looking for a new head coach right now. Let them get that new head coach, and then we can kind of see them. The one that intrigued me the most is the John Gruden one because that is, to me, the one that makes the most sense because they have 3 picks to move.
Yep. John
Gruden's not afraid to go ahead and make a trade, even if it's to us, like a boneheaded move. Like moving Amari Cooper, I don't think many people would have done that. He said, screw it, I'm going to go ahead and do it. Moving Khalil Mack, like that trade alone, it was like, wait, what happened?
Yeah.
What? He got what? He's in Chicago, huh? And yet again, he pulled the trigger on that. And let's be honest, with the 25th or 27th overall picks right now, I would probably, if we did a mock draft today, have a wide receiver going to the Raiders with either one of those picks.
Yep.
The only thing that I think, and this is the last thing, probably we should have started with this, but I'll say it now, is the thing that's going to be funny is what is going to be the asking, what's going to be the asking price for Antonio Brown, and what are the Steelers going to kind of expect that price to be? Because that could be a thing where they're so vastly different to where a deal might not even get done.
And I think, judging by Le'Veon Bell and what they were looking for, and teams being like, yeah, no thank you for that, it's going to be a lot.
Because they wanted a first.
I thought they wanted multiple firsts.
Okay.
Is what I thought it was.
And assuming with Antonio Brown, who's under contract and playing, not holding out, that they would want the same thing.
And he's the franchise. He said it himself.
He's the franchise.
Don't touch me. I'm the franchise. So you better get some good stuff if you're trading the franchise.
I will be completely honest. I love this drama that's going down with the Steelers right now. Only because I've kind of been low-key on the fire Mike Tomlin train for a couple of years now.
I don't have any issues with Mike Tomlin.
I feel like with a different head coach, we're talking about Adam Gase losing the locker room, and this is not losing the locker room with your high profile players.
Well, I don't know. Big Ben said he didn't see anything.
Big Ben didn't see a lot of things apparently. But I mean, you got the franchise, as AB calls himself. You got the franchise unhappy, and I know what people are going to say. Oh, it's funny that a wide receiver is throwing a big hissy fit and is kind of acting like a diva here. But I love it because I kind of have been on that train where, hey, Mike Tomlin is not like, he'll win games.
It's been a little
he'll get
bit
you
since
to,
he's truly gotten you to where you want to be.
Like I'm looking at it, and Do you want to know what's funny about the last time they missed the playoffs? The last time they missed the playoffs was the last time the Chargers were in the playoffs. And what do we have this year? The Steelers out of the playoffs and the Chargers are in there. But like ever since that Super Bowl win, they lose to the Packers in the Super Bowl, then wild card loss, divisional loss, AFC Championship loss, divisional loss. They've only been to that AFC title game once since 2010. So, I mean, I look at it and I'm like, this could be some writing on the walls in the future for Mike Tomlin as well. Any final thoughts with this AB segment before we move into our picks for the playoffs?
Only that realistically, I don't think this is going to happen.
You don't think he gets traded?
No.
What would you put a percentage at that he gets traded this offseason?
Like 20.
20? What about after? Does it change after the draft? Does it go down after the draft?
Definitely, because then teams have taken their wide receivers if they wanted one.
Mm-hmm. Plus, you don't have those 2019 picks.
Yeah, and there's always that hype of, that wide receiver I got in the 5th round. I know they're going to be good. It's going to be a good one.
Oh, like the Packers with Equanimeous St. Brown. I wanted him to do well. He did do okay this year. We all wanted him to do well
because of his name.
Yeah, and plus, I mean, with Chicagoland area, I mean, Notre Dame guy, so everyone around here wanted to
don't care about. I've never understood the Chicago love for Notre Dame.
Well,
I know there's so many Irish people here, but it doesn't make sense.
It's a Southside Irish thing. That's 110% what it is.
It's dumb. It's not in Chicagoland. Well, I guess it is in Chicagoland, but it's not in Illinois.
That's what I said on Saturday when I was hanging out with Dave and Sean. I want Notre Dame to move to the Big Ten because
the Chicago's Big Ten team?
Yeah, because Northwestern can't use that anymore because more people in Chicago like Notre Dame than Northwestern.
It's not the amount of people. It's the fact that Notre Dame is literally like 20 minutes from Chicago.
Yeah, isn't it further than 20 minutes?
It's in Evanston. It's right there.
No, I thought you were talking about Notre Dame.
No. Notre Dame, that's going to be an hour and a half, I think.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about.
But honestly,
South Bend.
When you're talking about this whole they're not in Illinois, but they're close. Notre Dame, Wisconsin-Madison is not that far. From it's a similar distance to Notre Dame.
To where we're at right now, and I know that
nobody cares, but it's on the podcast now.
An hour and 40 minutes.
Yeah, that's about the same amount of time it would take you to get to Wisconsin-Madison. Just saying. Saying.
If I type in Chicago exactly, hour 36.
We're in Chicago.
Yeah, but I mean, I typed at first. I did my location, which takes off about a minute or two, because of where we are in the city. But I mean, hour and 36 is what we're looking at right now. If we were like, fuck it, we're gonna get in a car and go all the way to South Bend, but by train, it would take us 2.5 hours to go by train.
How long would it take us to walk? Let's find that out since we're going through all these possible scenarios.
Can I do that?
On Google, it's usually an option.
My computer died, so that's my computer saying, hey, Ricky, close this segment. Let us know what you guys think down below in that comment section. Will AB be traded? What's the asking price? And what are some possible landing spots for Antonio Brown?